Hi, magandang pula. So my name is Ugin. So I'm from Bhutan.
Okay, so thank you for watching that. I'm going to turn it now over to Lama Palden, who will share with you some of the benefits of going on pilgrimage.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. Um, so yeah, when I'm very happy to uh, share with you all about Bhutan, and I love going on pilgrimage there. I loved living there. It's an extraordinary place where it's the only country in the world where Vajrayana Buddhism has been practiced since the 7th to 8th century, and it's been literally undisturbed by any wars since that time. So all the temples, the places where all the yogis and yoginis have practiced over the years are completely been undisturbed for all these centuries. And it's amazing. When I was young and first spending time in the Himalayas, I didn't really think much about pilgrimage. I thought, well, that couldn't be anything really that special. But then when I started going to some of these sacred sites and being in these places, I realized that it was really incredibly valuable to expose oneself and to be in these places. It literally, I think, changes all your cells in your body just to be in some of these really amazing places. And to be in a culture where the worldview is completely different from our own, where the people live in a kind of a mindset that's extremely different. And not only has Buddhism been able to thrive for 15 centuries in Bhutan undisturbed, but up until recently it was a monarchy, and many of the people that were kings and parts of the royal family were actually very, very serious Dharma practitioners. And some of them have been emanations of awakened beings. And they have had a benevolent monarchy in which they have done everything possible that they could for the benefit of the people. So this has also been a very, very unique situation. And some years ago, not that long ago, after we started going there, in fact, one of our evening where we had dinner with some of the local officials and etc. at Benji Kimpo Rinpoche's house, we met the guy who had to put all the elections together for Bhutan, and they'd never had elections before. But the royal family, the king and the royal family, decided that even though the people had voted to keep the monarchy and not have a democracy, some years after that vote, the royal family decided no, they had to turn it into a democracy and have the people learn to rule themselves. So it's now a democracy, which has deteriorated the country slightly because there's no better government than a benevolent monarchy that really has all the people's best interest at heart for things to run exceedingly well. But it's doing quite well, and doesn't really affect anything in terms of our own visiting, but sometimes, we get to hear the different stories about what's going on there nowadays in terms of politics and stuff. But it's amazing also to be able to meditate and pray. We do some prayers and meditation in the temples, and really a pilgrimage is where we take all of our spiritual aspirations and we put them into this practice called doing pilgrimage. So it's a spiritual practice in and of itself to go on pilgrimage. And not just during the times when we're actually formally doing prayers or meditating in the temples or outside somewhere, but each step, each moment of the journey is a pilgrimage. And this means that the entire thing is a spiritual practice and it's a spiritual teaching. And just like in meditation, we get to see what comes up in our minds. And as we're engaging in all kinds of new experience, we watch ourselves, see how this affects us, what's coming up, and we work with our own minds just like we do on the cushion. It's a really incredibly joyful situation to have community together and to go on pilgrimage in Bhutan together. One of the benefits of having been such a stable, beneficent country is the people are truly amazing. Just really, really beautiful people. They're incredibly warm and open, have an amazing kind of purity about them. And being with them, getting to know some of them is a real joy as well. So we go to various sites where people like Guru Rinpoche Padmasambhava, who first brought Buddhism to Bhutan. He was one of the earliest in Tibet, but he was the first one to bring it to Bhutan, where he meditated, and they've built out temples around the caves where he meditated. And Yeshi Sogyal, one of his two primary consorts, was there meditating in caves. In fact, she spent quite a long time in personal retreat in Boomtong, one of the places where we'll go. And then other great masters, the great Dzogchen Master Longchenpa spent a long time meditating in Bhutan, and we love going to the monastery that he founded there next to where his retreat hut was. And many other great luminaries, Milarepa, Machik Labdran, modern 20th century the great Dzogchen Master Dingo Khyentse spent years and years in Bhutan, was actually the guru of one of the former queens of Bhutan. My own teacher, Kala Rinpoche, spent 12 years there, taking care of retreat centers and monasteries. So there's been all these amazing yogis and yoginis through these 15 centuries, and their presence and the power of their meditation has really soaked into the soil in a truly amazing way. So it's a really great joy to do pilgrimage there. and to visit. And it's also the government, both when it was a monarchy and then now as a democracy, have been very, very careful about development. They saw what happened in Nepal, and they didn't want what happened in Nepal to happen in Bhutan, so they've been super careful about development and about what gets built and all of that. And so which is why they've been kind of careful about their tourism industry as well. And so it's basically unspoiled. So also we get to revel in the beautiful landscape and architecture, just the stunning architecture that they have there that's completely decorated with sacred symbols and sacred geometry and stuff like that. And so that's another real highlight is being in these magnificent zongs that are these huge buildings. You saw one in the slideshow that was at the confluence of two rivers, a major zong, and those places sometimes house as many as 20 temples, and they often have monasteries in them. And then as well, they have government offices in them. So they're sort of all-purpose, huge building that are really fun to walk around in and meditate in. And so this is both an extraordinary spiritual practice and an opportunity to really have fun together, to really enjoy together. And their food is I really like it a lot. And we've not had any trouble with the food. It's been very delicious. The kind of local cuisine is a lot of vegetables and some cheese and eggs, a lot of red rice and also white rice, and then meat in some of the dishes for people that eat meat. Plenty of veggie stuff for the vegetarians. And we get really nice hotels, what we can get on our budget, but it is a country that's very little developed compared to Europe or America. So, it's somewhat a little rustic at times as well. And that's all part of the charm. But they have heat and things like that. When I was very first there, heat was not so much of a factor because when I lived there, it was like 78 to 82, 83. So in those days, it was a lot more rustic, and they didn't have all the kind of nice hotels that they have now. So, and then in between, to get to different parts of the country, we'll be taking small buses, and we do have some small hikes that, going up to temples or different things like that, but it's not a trekking tour. They have trekking tours, but this is a pilgrimage, not a trekking tour. But we do have some lovely walks and hikes. And there's also free time when you can walk out, and just anywhere we are, you can walk out for miles and have lovely promenades through the countryside. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I guess just one more word in terms of being a spiritual practice. Any difficulties that we encounter, we take them as part of the path and work with them with our mind as part of the spiritual practice. So being on pilgrimage is not like being the uptight American angry tourist or anything like that. It's about really totally receiving the loving graciousness that's extended to us and returning in kind. And so I think maybe Suzanne and Barbara could each say a few words about your experience in Bhutan, being on pilgrimage there. Maybe Suzanne, you could start, and then Barb could say a few words as well. And brief few words, and then Suzanne can talk a little bit more about some of the logistics, and then we can have questions and answers.
Yeah, before we switch over, Lama Paulin, I would love for you to share the benefits of going on pilgrimage, even if you're not a Buddhist practitioner.
Well, that's one thing. We have had spouses who are not Buddhist practitioners come along, and they've all really enjoyed. And sometimes, if we're meditating in the temples or something, they, take a walk around outside or something. But the benefits for everyone, is to be, like I said, in a place that is a completely different worldview, completely different culture that is so has such a purity, as I spoke about it, and just this incredibly beautiful energy that the people there have, and to be in such a unspoiled place that really hasn't, of course there's changes, now more and more, into modern life, but in many ways has still not changed from, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. When you're in the temples, it's pretty unchanged from 1500 years ago. Of course, there's electricity now and stuff like that, but it's just such a completely total immersion into a different reality. And, America is such a big country, especially those of us who are from America. If we haven't traveled a lot around the world, we just think that our reality is the reality, but it's only one. And as we know, even in our different states are very different from each other. So exposing ourselves to entirely different culture and worldview and type of people and everything is extremely enriching, of course, and the beauty, imbibing all of that is amazing. And then it's both happened to me myself and then to other people as well. You really have no idea how powerful the energy in some of these places are until you really open up and experience it and feel it. And that's quite amazing. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Lama Paulin. So Barbara, do you want to share with us about your Bhutan pilgrimage experience? I know you've been twice, soon to be 3 times. So if you could share with us some of your...
I won't take too long because I do want to make sure there's time for Q&A, but I would have to really agree with Lama Paulin in terms of my own personal experience of what she said about how being in these supercharged places where these super high level yogis and yoginis, like realized beings, have meditated and practiced before, that actually being in the physical space of these caves and these outcroppings where the yogis and yoginis have practiced, it's permeated into the space. And as soon as I walked into the space, I could feel physically the supercharge of the energy there. I also feel that in my personal experience, as soon as I decide on each pilgrimage I went on, as soon as I decided to go, the pilgrimage started then. It doesn't just start when you step on the plane. It starts from the moment you make the decision. And from that moment on, the whole period of time leading up to even to the end of the pilgrimage is the pilgrimage. So even things that happen in your life from the time you make the decision until the time that you complete the pilgrimage is all part of that experience of bringing all of your experiences to the path. And it's beautiful in the sense that it prepares you mentally for actually being there in that openness that Paulin was talking about, so that when you get to Bhutan, there's this sense of just, like she said, the sheer wonder of being in a country that's so steeped in Buddhism that the land itself is impregnated with this bodhicitta. It's impregnated with this caring for others and the kindness. Yeah, it's and I think also just the traveling together and our Sangha sings songs and we do practices and for those of you maybe who aren't Buddhist, it's still it's this all-encompassing spiritual energy that's it's permeated with wisdom and compassion, and so your own spiritual growth just it's like goes on to steroids. So that's all I'm going to say, Suzanne Law. It's to you now, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, I think Lama Palden and Barbara have said a lot of what I would say. I'm remembering back to early 2019 when I was talking with Lama Palden about going on pilgrimage, and she said, let it be just a really nourishing trip for you. And I really think that's so true. There's, like Barbara and Lama Palden we're saying tonight, is there's something really deeply healing about the energy there, that you can feel like right when you get off the plane. It's a government that not only really cares about its people, and you can really feel how they relax into that. I think in many governments or countries that I've been to, that's just not present. But they also really care about the environment, and you can see it everywhere. You can taste it in the food. The food tastes so fresh. There's something really special about it. And having Lama Palden on pilgrimage is really special. Like I mean, you could, of course, go to Bhutan on your own. There's lots of ways to do that, but there's something really powerful about traveling with Lama Palden. She really knows Bhutan very intimately, and she has a deep relationship with Benchen Rinpoche, who's our contact there. And also traveling around with the female Lama is really fun. She really, I think, gets a lot of respect and attention that you wouldn't necessarily have kind of going on your own or on just a normal trip to Bhutan. And one of my Dharma sisters, another practitioner in our Sangha, Emily, said that she draws upon that pilgrimage still every day. And I think that's really true. Being in those sacred places plants seeds that are still 5 years later sprouting for me. And one other thing I wanted to share with you is photography is mostly prohibited inside the temples. So we're seeing a lot of these amazing places from the outside, which are spectacular, but inside is even more amazing. And really the only way to see that is to go there, because you literally cannot photograph almost all of them, which was definitely hard for me as a photographer, but also affords the opportunity to really connect with the energy there. And that is the other thing. Lama Palden would often lead us in very simple meditation practices that are such an incredible invitation to open up and experience the energy of these places. So that's kind of a little bit about why I loved it. So I just wanted to share a couple things. You heard a lot already from Lama Palden about some details, and I'm not going to go into the itinerary tonight. I did want to say, for some of you who might have received that email that showed a long itinerary, it's kind of a sample itinerary. There's still some tweaks in the process, but we can definitely trust Lama Palden to put together something really special for us. But what happens is all of us, wherever you are, whether you're in the US or anywhere in the country, we've had people come from different places of the world, and we all meet at the Bangkok airport. There's this awesome hotel that's actually right next to the airport that allows you to kind of stumble out of bed early in the morning and kind of make your way over to the Bangkok terminal. And we all meet there together. I'll be there. And then we get on an early morning flight for Paro. And the reason for that is that we're flying over the Himalayas, and often if it's clear, it's a spectacular view. And we fly into Paro, and either we'll spend a night there or we'll fly directly to another city called Bumtang. And then we take the rest of our pilgrimage trip on this bus, kind of making our way back through these sacred sites. And Lama Palden mentioned earlier that it's more of like a driving pilgrimage with some hikes in there. Sometimes when I mention that we're going on pilgrimage, some people think it's like the Camino de Santiago where we're walking from place to place. And this is, really a lot of more transportation since these places are quite far from each other. And let's see, and also about the itinerary, I feel like Lama Palden does a really great job of having the schedule really nicely balanced, where it doesn't feel too busy, but it feels very satisfying, like a perfect meal with some space in between each of the things that we're doing. There are a couple of hikes. They're about an hour, I would say, in length, more or less, depending on how much time you want to take. They're pretty gradual in elevation. The highest hike that we take is the one at Taksong, or Tiger's Nest, which the picture was shown at the end. That is up at 10,000 feet. There are several passes that we drive over, and we might, take a look or hang some prayer flags or walk around. I think the highest one we go to is just over 11,000 feet. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then the hike to Tucson itself, or Tiger's Nest, takes anywhere from 2 to 5 hours to hike. When Barbara and I did it in 2019, and we really took our time because we wanted to soak up every little detail. But I mean, you could power hike it if you wanted to, or not. And I remember too that some people who hiking that distance was difficult, they were able to hire a mule for part of it, but then had to walk the last stretch. So just giving you, for those of you who are wondering about those kinds of details. About the weather, you saw from the slideshow that Bhutan actually, like if you imagine like all these fingers coming down of the Himalayas, there's these tall peaks that have lots of snow and are really cold, and then these valleys that have like fruit trees and lots of greenery. So the weather can really vary. It's anywhere from like the low 50s to mid 60s. We've been really lucky in the past, and we haven't really had any rain. We've never really experienced any snow, but you definitely need to bring like something like a jacket and lots of layers. And inside some of the temples can be quite chilly. So that's enough about the weather. Lama Palden mentioned that, Bhutan's like far from a luxury destination, but the hotels are really simple, but very, very comfortable. And again, like it's so much more than about the hotel. It's about the people and the place. The food, she mentioned the food is really delicious. The Bhutanese love spicy, crazy spicy food, but they really make it much more catered to a Western palate. And it's often served in a buffet style so that you can really kind of pick what you want. You can add just have the vegetables if you're a vegetarian, or more meat dishes. So there's some options there. In terms of money, like most of the expenses are covered with the fee. And there's just an opportunity at the end to give some offerings to your guides, or sometimes in the temples, or if you want to do some shopping. And a lot of more of these details and maybe some suggestions for packing lists and things like that will be given once you register for the trip or apply for the trip. So those are just kind of a broad brush stroke to give you guys a general idea about the trip. What I thought we would do now is open it up for questions. So what you could do is press the little hand icon, or if you want, you can maybe, if you don't know where that is, you can just raise your hand. And Leslie.
Also, I wanted to say one more thing, Suzanne, that when you and Barbara were speaking, reminded me that one of the benefits of going on pilgrimage is that we get into places, and also because of Benshin Khenpo Rinpoche, because our relationship with him, and he's a former husband of mine, which is why we're so close. But his past life, the one right before this one, he was Guru to the King of Bhutan. And the royal family has a tremendous amount of love and respect for him. And so because of that and us going on pilgrimage, we're able to go into certain temples that normally tourists would never be able to go into. And because of the culture being so different, like I was talking about, sometimes extraordinary things happen that just aren't the kind of things that happen here. Like one time when we were walking up all the way walking up and down, back down again to Taksung, to Tiger's Nest, there was this type of rainbow that I've never seen before or since. It's an actual fact. I mean, you can look it up, but they're an extremely different type of rainbow that are directly vertical and very, very vivid in the bands of color, but they're not like a regular rainbow, like the regular shape. They're these vertical rainbows of light in the sky. And, there's just very interesting things that happen there that don't necessarily happen all the time, magical, special things. So maybe now we'll open it up for questions.
So I think Marina, go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, you're muted, Marina. There
Okay,
you go.
yeah, okay. Thank you. I
Hi.
just have a simple, hello, hi everyone. Just have a very simple question. The accommodations, is it single occupancy or double occupancy?
You
Is
can
one-
request whichever
okay.
one you want.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And if you want to double, if you know somebody coming on the trip and you want to double with that specific person, you request that.
Thank you.
Andres?
Hi everyone. I have a question, a clarification, and then just a comment. One is, you mentioned, Lama Palden, that for those of us who are not practitioners, we can walk outside the temples while they're practicing. Is it also okay to meditate inside with the group?
Oh yeah, everybody's invited to practice together.
Okay.
We also, when Barb was mentioning, we sing songs together often on the bus or at different times. There's fantastic translations and tunes for a lot of the songs of realization from Milarepa and other great masters. So we also all join in and have fun. There's a pilgrimage songbook and prayer book that everybody gets a copy of.
Oh, nice. Just the other comments I had, the movie The Monk and the Gun is playing, or did play, at the Rafael Theater, which is a great insight into the Bhutan culture. And also the other movie, the Lulana, the Yak in the Classroom, I really enjoyed as another way of getting a glimpse of the culture. So I just wanted to throw those two out in case people are interested in learning more about Bhutan and the culture.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Diane? Yeah. Good to see you. Diane was on a
Hi.
pilgrimage in
I
2019.
was on the last pilgrimage, and I just want to let everybody know it is just amazing and totally transformed my life and my spiritual practice. And, the opportunity to go again just is so amazing to think about. And my question is, do you think Ugin can be our guide again?
Yes, he will be our guide
Are
again.
you kidding? He made the trip really phenomenal too, along with Lama Palden. It was just delightful.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone there was a short clip of him in the video. I don't know if anyone caught it, but he was really fantastic. And I think one of Lama Palden's favorite guides. So we requested him to be with us again.
Oh, wonderful. Good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. Anyone else? We have lots of time for questions.
Yeah, Mary, go ahead. You'll need to.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I wanted to ask, I would be coming from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible to fly to a closer place than Bangkok? Like New Delhi and then meet there?
You could
Or-
fly to Delhi and then just
To Delhi,
you would
yeah.
arrange, you'd have to arrange then to just take the flight by yourself from Delhi to Bhutan.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
that can be done. We often have had people from Europe or other places.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
The other Mary?
Okay. I'm going to be flying from Phoenix, and I'm wondering if there's a way to coordinate people coming from the same destination just to fly together to Bangkok. And even I was even thinking to fly to San Francisco and maybe join up for some people there. Is there a way to coordinate that?
Yeah, as we get closer to pilgrimage, there'll be opportunities to connect with the other pilgrims prior to our trip and ways of reaching out to make contact if you want to do that.
Great. Thank you.
A lot of the
Thanks,
flights
David.
fly from LA actually. So oftentimes people, in order to get to Bangkok, you fly to LA first anyway.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So, but if you know, we could also maybe just let people know like some of the flights that people are booking if other people want to book those or something.
Okay. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, and the last pilgrimage, I don't remember how much before it was, but it turned out that maybe more than half of us were located within the Bay Area, and so we had kind of a meet and greet, maybe a month or so, or 2 months before we left, which was really lovely. But we also had each other's emails and can kind of ask any questions or make any kind of connection. So it was really thought that was really meaningful to kind of already meet people before we went on pilgrimage together. So we'll definitely be planning something like that. And if turns out there's a lot of people who are spread out, then maybe we'll organize like a Zoom meeting or something like that. Okay, Carol, hello, welcome. Another returning pilgrim.
The returning pilgrim.
Good to
Yeah,
see you.
it's nice to see you too, Suzanne and Diane and Richard and all of the other pilgrims, Barbara. I just wanted to say that this was perhaps one of the most transformative experiences that certainly changed the quality of my life and how I held my life. And I don't use the word transformation very lightly. I think it's tossed about a great deal. And what I would say was that it was said, just being in the ambiance of Bhutan, its people, the temples, the radiance of the environment was extraordinary. And on a very deep, soulful level, extremely nourishing. It was also quite educational for those of you that have a love of learning. I think intellectually and in terms of bypassing the intellect, the deep intuitive knowledge was something that Lama Palden and we mentioned Ujin, our wonderful guide. There were many experiences to enrich our understanding of where we were in a deep way. Comfort-wise, it was amazingly comfortable. I was concerned about that, and my needs were always met, always. And I think there was a great deal of individual attention. And the other thing, it created a sense of community. I mean, this was 2019 before COVID, and I look at faces that I haven't seen since then, and I still have this sense of being part of this extraordinary community that shared an extraordinary experience. So it's a very, very wonderful gift.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Scott?
Yes, hi. I have practical questions. The first one is there electricity consistently? Because I have a CPAP machine. And is it reliable that there's electricity? And then the second question is, how do we go about, making a commitment? Is there an application process, or do you need a deposit, or just how does that work?
Mama Paula, do you want to take the electricity question and then I'll answer?
Yeah, we have had consistent electricity on all our recent trips. I think it's about as consistent as California is. I mean, sometimes if there was a big storm or something, something could go out, but we haven't had it go out in recent years at all. Yeah.
And your second question was about what the next step is if you're interested.
Yeah, yeah.
So immediately following this call, Joanne, who's, I don't know if she can see her, she can raise her hand. She will be posting a link for an application process. And she also will be handling all the financial side of this trip.
So there is a deposit, and then there's certain parts of the deposit or payment that are due at certain times with, in certain months or whatever like that.
Right. And she'll send out an email to everyone too with all the details as well. So both of those things will be made available.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Was there any other questions, Scott? Oh, nope. Okay. Dave.
Hi.
Richard,
I missed the first.
Oh.
Oh,
go ahead.
Go ahead, David.
this is David. Hi. I'm sorry. I missed the first couple of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah.
and I was wondering what concrete details have been determined already, like what month, what price, how long, and things like that.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of details on the Suka City website. It's
Oh, okay.
quite comprehensive. If you since you registered for this call, there'll be another email going out with more details. But yeah, check out the Suka City website. And actually, right when you land on the page, there's a huge banner in the top talking about the pilgrimage.
All right.
You can click on
Okay.
that to get everything you need to know.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, David. And then Maria. Yeah, Maria, I think you're
Unmute, yes.
there you go. Hi.
She couldn't figure out the raised hand, but I finally got it.
Okay.
I wondered if you had like a maximum minimum number of people logistically.
Yeah, right now there's will be 21 people total, including Lama Palden.
Oh,
Mike-
not including the llamas.
Not including the llamas?
We try to keep it max with the llamas and et cetera around, 24, 25. We like to have a intimate small group. There has been a lot of interest in this pilgrimage. Over 80 people have showed interest and stuff. So if you are wanting to go, then definitely you can register. And I think Joanne also put that application in the chat.
Is it first come, first serve, or is there?
Yeah, and we do interview people that are not part of Suka City or are not students of mine. Then we interview people to see if it's going to be appropriate for them to come with the group and if it's appropriate for us and for them.
Okay, great. And the other question is, what about altitude sickness?
We're generally at around 7,500 feet, a little bit less than that or a little bit more than that. We've never had anybody get altitude sickness, but I have actually a very close friend who can't come because he gets altitude sickness even at 5,000. So obviously, if you get altitude sickness at something like 5,000 or 7,000, it's not a good trip for you.
And what about when you go on the hikes, like you're up at 10 and 11?
Yeah, so that's as high as we go up, but that's just a few times.
And then you're probably
And for
asking-
Toksong, when we go over a pass, we're usually there briefly, and again, we've never had a problem in terms of if somebody thinks they have a problem at 10,000, they probably should not hike up to Toksong because it's over 10,000.
Yeah.
And it's 3,000 feet straight up for the hike, or these little ponies that go 2/3 or 3/4 of the way up. So last time we had a small group that did not hike up to Toksong, and we actually went to a monastery and did something different.
Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to just bring up, which I didn't mention earlier, that there's kind of a unique part of this pilgrimage that the other Lama from Sukha City, Lama Dundrup, will be joining us on this trip. So that'll be kind of a new part of this trip. So it'll be really lovely to have both Lamas with us. Was there any other questions?
Richard.
For Richard, okay.
Yeah, good to be here tonight. Good to see everyone.
And another returning pilgrim.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, 2019 was quite remarkable. Wonderful pilgrimage, wonderful experience. I just wanted to add, following up with Barbara and Carol and Diane, sort of testimonial. So much of the pilgrimage was just wonderful. Every day I woke up and saying, well, what happened that day was just the most wonderful thing ever. And then the next day, the next wonderful thing would happen. So it was just one amazing experience after another. But I really wanted to shout out or tell about the experience with the Bhutanese people. Was so much part of my wonderful experiences. I remember doing circumambulation around the stupa in Thimphu and just being like almost carried off my feet with the energy that was there, or standing at the edge of the balcony at Longchenpa's monastery and gazing out over the Himalayas. You know, it's just one wonderful experience after another, transformative, as Carol was saying. And I also wanted to add that I cracked my head open during the last pilgrimage, which was considered to be very auspicious. So I also got to see how well run the hospital system is, to go in and get my skull sutured up, and had wonderful nursing ability. And many of the people who came with us outside of Sukha City for the pilgrimage became great friends, you know, afterwards. So it was a real bonding experience as well. I can't say enough about my experience going. So thanks again. I hope you all sign up, or as many of you that can. Definitely worth it.
Thank you, Richard.
Joanne said somebody noticed the link wasn't working. Joanne's gonna do something about that. But anyway, you'll be getting emails about that. And of course, there's altitude. Somebody put in the chat, there's pills for altitude sickness. But some people, the pills don't work. They have too bad of a case. I mean, I know 2 people like that couldn't come because of that. So that's the altitude pills. But if you're worried, if you've never been at that altitude, it's you know, then you might want to bring the pills just in case. Anyway, your doctor will probably know if it's a good idea or not.
Lizette?
Yes, Suzanne. I have a question, and I don't, it's a little, I'm not really quite sure about this, but if you want to stay on or go to another location or visit someone else, do you need to have a guide? Can you do that, you know, prearranged to go to another site? Have other people done that in the past? Or they always go just end to end with the
Some
pilgrimage?
people stay after, Lizette. That's possible to stay after and do some more pilgrimage on your own. And probably we would just arrange with the guides that we already have, you know. You do
Okay.
need to have a guide in Bhutan. That's part of the way they control the tourism. But the guides are like, they drive, you know, well, we have drivers too, but they just arrange everything. They know everything and arrange everything. They're totally fabulous. So it's totally fabulous having them. And, but it is possible to add on, and we would just sort of help you arrange that privately, you know, put you in touch with the right people to arrange that privately. Benchen Khenpo Rinpoche and his wife Rigzin, who are handling all this for us, they could help arrange that.
Okay. We can discuss that at another time, but
Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, we have a few more
Looks
minutes.
like Marina has her hand up again, so
Okay.
go ahead, just unmute yourself, Marina. We can't hear you otherwise.
Oh, also a short question. On the way back, we fly together to Bangkok again?
Yes, yes, we do.
Thank you.
I think Bhutan is one of 2 places in the world that you need someone else to arrange your flights to. So they kind of have you come in and out.
Thank you. So we buy tickets to Bangkok round trip.
Yes, exactly. And then Sukhumvit City handles the visa and the tickets that's included with the fee that you pay from Bangkok into Bhutan.
Thank you.
So is that all the questions or comments? Leslie, did you have something to say?
Yeah, actually, I'd like to just address the issue of altitude because I've been both on the Everest trek and also in a month trek in Bhutan. And if you have any concerns about altitude, what you want to do is talk to the doctor ahead of time. And what we did in Everest is we all took a particular medication 3 days before we went to altitude. So just kind of having the pills available to take if you're concerned about it is probably not such good timing. In other words, you want to have a plan ahead of time, but there are medications and you would just want to talk with the physician about that. So there's a way to work with it.
It's so much lower than Everest, though. I mean, there you're starting off at 18,000 or something, and it's a whole different. That's way, way, way more risky.
No, I mean, at 9,000 feet, we took medication before we went to 9,000 feet for 3 days. So my only point was that if you are at all concerned about altitude, you should think about that and talk with the doctor ahead of time to have a plan on handling it.
Right.
Hey, you see any more questions or any more raised hands, Leslie? Okay. Well, I just want to thank you everyone for coming tonight and joining us. I am so excited. As you might have seen from the email, 2019 was supposed to be Lama Palden's last trip to Bhutan, last pilgrimage to Bhutan. And I've been bugging her for a long time. So thank you so much, Lama Palden, for agreeing to do another pilgrimage. It is such a special opportunity that I hope that you'll all consider. I want to remind you again, like the early registration will open tonight after tonight's call. And then public registration opens up on January 15th. And there is an early bird discount up until February 28th. You can go into the Sukhumvit City website. And I think also, Joanne, will you publish my email, thepilgrimage@sukhumvitcity.org, if people have any questions afterwards?
Yes. Yeah, we
We'll
will.
put that in the email. Okay,
Yeah,
great. So you can, if you think of something afterwards that you forgot to ask, you can just email. Yes, I mentioned Lama Dundrup joining on our trip. You can just email me with any questions that you have. So thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you soon. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
You.
Good night. Thank you.